Hi everyone, welcome to Unlocking the Brain, where we explore the latest breakthroughs in neuroscience and mental health. I'm Alicia Sharma, your host, and today we're honored to have two distinguished experts, Zuron Li and Tingwei Huang, joining us to shed light on the topic that affects millions of lives worldwide, Alzheimer's disease. Zuron and Tingwei are renowned experts in neuroscience whose research at Monash University focuses on the interventions of Alzheimer's disease. So, could you both please give a quick intro to the viewers of Alzheimer's disease and what brings you here today?
Hi everyone, I'm Zuron Li. It's my great honor to be here. Today, we are here to share some facts about Alzheimer's disease. It is more than just a medical condition, it is also a journey that reshapes lives and relationships. It is a topic that often surrounded by misconceptions and fear. Yet, understanding it is really crucial for both those directly impacted and their loved ones.
Hello guys, I'm Tingwei. It's our honor to be here and talk about this topic. We hope that through this interview, more people can understand the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease and improve people's awareness and attention to Alzheimer's disease. At the same time, we also hope to be able to provide some effective treatment options for people who already have Alzheimer's disease and help them avoid wasting time and money on ineffective interventions.
Thank you for that. So, viewers, join us today as we embark on this exploration of Alzheimer's disease, seeking understanding, compassion, and ultimately hope. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is Alzheimer's disease, and can you please break it down for our listeners today in more simple terms?
Of course, Alzheimer's disease, also known as AD, is a long-term brain disorder that causes a gradual decline in thinking and just day-to-day functioning as people get older. It is a progressive condition that impacts cognitive functions, particularly impairing learning and episodic memory recall. If you're wondering, episodic memory is our ability to remember specific events or episodes from our lives, such as personal experiences and details of life activities, like when and where they happened.
Okay, so would I be using my episodic memory when I think about my trip to Thailand last year?
Yeah, exactly right. Episodic memory is a bit like remembering an episode. However, for those who are suffering from Alzheimer's, its memory is related to things linked to particular settings will decline step by step and eventually vanish.
Wow, it must be challenging for those affected and their loved ones. Can you explain what actually happens in the brain of someone with Alzheimer's?
Yeah, sure. In Alzheimer's, there's an accumulation of abnormal protein deposits in the brain. These include amyloid plaques and tau tangles, which disrupt the communication between brain cells and eventually lead to their death.
That sounds pretty complex. So when someone has Alzheimer's, it's like their brain is slowly changing in a way that makes it hard for them to remember things that they used to know really well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just imagine, your brain is a big library filled with books, and each book is a piece of memory. In Alzheimer's, abnormal protein deposits start accumulating in this library and creating obstacles in its pathways.
So is it like the books in the brain's library are getting misplaced or mixed up?
Yeah, exactly. Picture this. Imagine trying to find a specific book in a library, but some books have gone missing or become jumbled up. With Alzheimer's, important memories and information become harder to access or recall. This can lead to forgetting names, dates, and everyday tasks like cooking or driving.
Also, as Alzheimer's disease progresses, individuals may struggle to express themselves or recognize familiar faces, much like trying to navigate a library where the books are disorganized or missing.
Oh, thank you for that explanation. That analogy actually really helps to visualize what happens in Alzheimer's disease. But how does someone know that they have it, and how are they diagnosed?
That's a great question. The diagnosis typically involves several steps. First, cognitive assessments are crucial in diagnosing Alzheimer's disease. These tests may include memory, language, problem-solving ability, and other cognitive function. One common test is the mini mental state examination, which measures a few of these things such as orientation, attention, memory, language, and visual spatial skills. Imaging studies such as MRI or CT scans can also help detect brain changes associated with Alzheimer's disease, such as shrinkage of certain brain regions.
In everyday situations, we tend to chalk up memory loss to getting older, which means we might overlook and postpone diagnosing Alzheimer's disease. Just like my neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, she used to be the heart of our block, always greeting everyone with a smile and a chat. Every morning, she would be out in her front yard tending to her beautiful flower beds. But things changed after she retired.
Oh, how come?
Sometimes she would forget our conversations just moments after having them. Other times she would appear disorientated and struggle to recognize familiar faces, including mine.
Yeah, that's a pretty common symptom for Alzheimer's disease in later stages.
But her family didn't pay much attention to all of it because of her age, being 82. They believed that she was just experiencing memory decline, like as a natural part of growing older.
Oh, that's unfortunate to hear. The development of Alzheimer's disease tends to be gradual, which means that some early signs may be easily ignored.
Yeah, it wasn't until one particular incident occurred that they began to take notice of her medical condition and pay closer attention to it. There was one time where Mrs. Thompson went for her usual walk to the nearby grocery store, but she never made it back home. Her family and neighbors launched a frantic search, running through streets and calling out her name, and they found her several blocks away, looking bewildered and confused. She had gotten so lost and couldn't remember how to get back.
Yeah, these are the typical symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, including forgetfulness that disrupt daily life, difficulty with problem solving or completing familiar tasks, and confusion about time or place. Well, professionally speaking, I wish Mrs. Thompson had been diagnosed earlier so that she could have received timely treatments.
Yeah, that sounds like what Mrs. Thompson is experiencing. Thanks for providing more detailed information on Alzheimer's disease about this. I think our audience really benefits from learning about these specific signs, enabling them to recognize them properly. And I'm wondering about what she might experience later.
Well, as the disease progresses, things can get even tougher. It's like your brain's control center starts shutting down. Eventually, she might lose consciousness, have trouble swallowing, or even forget how to breathe properly. It's crucial for families and caregivers to work closely with health professionals and provide round-the-clock support and care for individuals at this stage.
Oh, that's terrible to hear. Do you think there's any chance to turn things around? As far as I know, Mrs. Thompson's family has purchased many health supplements and medications tailored to address her Alzheimer's disease. Can we expect this action to have any impact?
Unfortunately, this won't be of much help. It's widely misunderstood that oral medications can effectively treat or alleviate Alzheimer's disease. However, these medications are not very helpful and can only relieve some symptoms in a certain degree.
The failure rate to develop new drugs for this kind of disease was unimaginable high. You can have a guess, Alicia?
Maybe about 75%?
Not even close. The actual number is 99.6%.
Are you serious? 99.6% is insane.
Yeah, but look on the bright side. There still are manufactured treatment options like transcranial direct current stimulation, also known as TDCS, and transcranial magnetic stimulation, known as TMS, and phase-locked acoustic stimulation.
Wow, there's so many treatment options that the public may not have heard of. Can you please tell us a bit more about them?
Absolutely. When it comes to treatments for Alzheimer's disease, there are several innovative approaches being explored. As I mentioned above, two of them are TMS and TDCS. TMS involves using magnetic fields to stimulate nerve cells in the brain, which can help improve cognitive function. On the other hand, TDCS uses a weak electrical current to modulate brain activity, potentially enhance memory and cognitive abilities.
Oh wow, that sounds pretty fascinating. Would there be any downfalls to this?
Yeah, unfortunately, TMS may not reach deep brain structures effectively, limiting its impact on certain regions implicated in Alzheimer's. For the TDCS, it is difficult to precisely target specific brain areas, which can affect the reliability of outcomes.
Oh, okay. By taking these treatments, then, is it possible for the patient to regain their lost memory back?
Sadly, but no, all the current therapies have similar limitations, that they could only slow the rate of memory decline, rather than providing a reverse of the existing damage.
Oh, that's really important for our listeners to understand. By the way, from your perspective, which method has achieved the most promising results so far?
Well, we have to admit that each method has its benefits. However, I like to talk about an approach called face-locked acoustic stimulation, which is mentioned as PLAS before. So this method uses specific sounds during slow-wave sleep, which is a critical stage of deep sleep associated with memory consolidation, and therefore enhances how different parts of our brain communicate with each other. So, by doing this, PLAS aims to boost connections between brain cells and ultimately improve our cognitive abilities, like memory and thinking.
Oh, okay. Could you tell us a bit more about how PLAS actually works and what makes it unique compared to the other methods?
Of course, PLAS works by using special sounds during deep sleep to sync up brain waves in areas linked to memory and thinking. It's like fine-tuning your brain radio station with customized tunes, helping different parts of your brain chat better. Unlike other methods like TMS or TDCS, they use electricity or magnets. PLAS can reach deep into your brain without any poking or proddings. Plus, it's affordable and safe and with no known side effects, making it a promising option for treating Alzheimer's.
That does sound pretty promising. Can you lead us into the experiment that you're conducting with PLAS?
Yeah, absolutely. Our research team is currently investigating the effects of PLAS on memory function in individuals with Alzheimer's disease. We aim to investigate how effective it is as a potential therapeutic intervention.
Oh, okay. Have there been any studies conducted on this topic using the PLAS method previously?
Yeah, previously studies have shown that using PLAS can enhance episodic memory in both young and older adults who are in good health. In our study, we found something new. We discovered that PLAS works just as well for people with Alzheimer's. When we checked on these patients 1 month and a half year later, we intended to test either PLAS could keep helping them remembering things and even in the long term.
That sounds really interesting. Would you be able to tell us more about your study? I bet our listeners must be really interested into delving into the actual process of it.
Sure. So we set up our experiment using a control design and recruited 500 volunteers to take part. Therefore, we can carefully minimize any random factors and making our results more reliable.
500, that's crazy. I can't even imagine how you were able to recruit that many patients with AD. Even after such a prolonged period, did all the participants remain willing to participate in the testing?
Yeah, certainly some individuals discontinued participation due to various obstacles. However, the substantial size of our sample ensures the reliability of our data remains pretty unaffected.
We also have encountered some difficulties though. For example, we did need to get informed consent before the experiment, not only from the individuals themselves, but also from their family members and their guardians. This procedure was necessary to ensure the smooth progress of our experiment. Through the collective efforts of our team, we ultimately accomplished the experiment successfully and obtained meaningful data results.
Oh, sorry for the interruption earlier. Please go ahead and introduce your study process to us.
No worries. Let's move back to our procedures part. So during the experiments, we played certain sounds while the participants were in deep sleep. These sounds were meant to influence their brain activity in a specific way to see if this had any impact on their memory. We tested their memory skills before and after the experiment using a very reliable memory test called the Ray Auditory Verbal Learning Test, which is also known as RAVLT.
So, this is another new term. How does RAVLT work?
So we use this test to see how many words someone can remember. This helps us understand how fast their memory is declining by comparing how well they remember words before and after hearing the sound during deep sleep. We can see if this intervention helps their memory and thinking skills improve over time.
That's a really well organized design. Now I'm curious about what results you've got.
We found that improvements after administering PLAS were quite significant in patients with Alzheimer's disease. As we expected, it could really help enhance episodic memory. At the same time, our results indicate that PLAS effectively improved the deep sleep duration of Alzheimer's disease patients, and the extended deep sleep period correlates positively with the consolidation of episodic memory in these patients.
Interesting. So your results do align with your hypothesis, right? Which is that PLAS is effective in slowing the memory decline of Alzheimer's disease?
Yeah, and here's the coolest part. PLAS continues to show its benefits even after half a year of the treatment, which strongly shows its effectiveness as an intervention for patients.
Wow, what a promising result. So what implications do these results have, like both practical and theoretical?
Well, practically, our findings suggest that PLAS could be a valuable addition to existing treatment plans for Alzheimer's disease, offering a non-pharmacological option to improve memory function and quality of life. It's accessible and cost-effective, making it suitable for widespread clinical use.
And from a theoretical perspective, it supports the idea that enhancing deep sleep can play a crucial role in memory consolidation, opening up new avenues for research into sleep-based interventions for cognitive decline.
Okay, so do you have any suggestions for future studies based on your results, and what should they do next?
Sure. In future studies, we can use tools like the MMSE test to pinpoint individuals with mild to moderate cognitive impairment. We will allow researchers to focus on how PLAS impacts this specific subgroup within the Alzheimer's population. This more targeted approach can offer deeper insights into the effectiveness of PLAS intervention for those who are most affected by Alzheimer's pathology.
It's also important to acknowledge that participants in our study varied in the severity of their Alzheimer's and their sleep patterns, so these differences may have influenced how they respond to the treatment.
Yeah, that is a problem.
So, to address this, future research should categorize participants based on disease stage and sleep characteristics. Therefore, we can tailor interventions to match the specific needs of different groups and make our findings more relevant to clinical practice. This more personalized approach will not only help alleviate memory decline but also enhance the overall quality of life for all patients.
Wow, that is quite promising. Before we wrap up, what advice do you have for listeners who may be concerned about Alzheimer's for themselves or even a loved one?
Oh, advices. Okay, let me think. Maybe stay informed, maintain a healthy lifestyle, and seek medical advice if you notice any changes in memory or thinking. And remember, early diagnosis and intervention can make a really big difference in managing this disease.
Thank you, Tingwei and Zuron, for sharing your insights and discoveries on Alzheimer's disease. It's been really enlightening to learn more about this super important topic.
Yeah, it's our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Hope this was helpful.
Thank you for having us on the podcast.
No worries, and thank you to our listeners for tuning into Unlocking the Brain. Stay tuned for more episodes where we continue to explore the cutting edge of neuroscience and mental health. Until next time, take care and keep your mind unlocked to new possibilities. Bye guys! See you next time.